Well, for anyone that's new to this, welcome to Ops Radio Hour. We're trying to do these once a month. This is the third one. The last one we had, being in the middle of summer, we didn't have too many people in, but the first one we had some pretty good discussions. If you look at the Etherpad in the middle of the screen, it should be up on everybody's screen right now. That's our kind of running record of these meetings. So you can scroll down and see the things that we talked about before. The current meeting is right there at the top. If you could sign in underneath the attendees, just so we know whose notes are what color. As Chris likes to say, this is not a presentation. I am just here as a moderator, hopefully try and get some people to talk. Ildiko is better at that than I am, even, so you can help me encourage people on that front. We had some proposed topics on the agenda right below where people are signing in. Some of it were things that we started discussing before, and we can either run down those, or if people have things that they want to talk about, or they want to pick one out of that list to start talking about, then feel free to go ahead, and you can just type right into the Etherpad with whatever notes you have, and then I can try and follow what's going in there to get some discussion going on things. So that's basically the deal. Do you guys? Does anybody have any particular thing that they'd like to get started with?
I think we can go in the same order what is present in the agenda.
Okay. So we had a previous discussion over OVN about the migration process from OVS or Linux Bridge. Previous mentions were that there were going to be some migration scripts and documentation about how to do that, but there weren't a lot of wasn't a lot of commentary. It wasn't actually like anything that we noticed. Somebody from CERN just wrote in here some good stuff. Ooh, second blog post about our migration. Very cool.
It's fresh.
It's fresh. Awesome. So you went from Linux Bridge, even more interesting. You guys never ran OVS?
No, we're going directly from Linux Bridge.
Okay, cool.
So this blog post is on the topic of activating OVN for our deployment in parallel, and then we are able to do a gradual migration bit by bit.
That's cool. Is anybody else working on that project right now, trying to do that migration, or working on trying to figure it out? And we kind of a mixed bag on some of these where we get people that came in on a topic and then they aren't at the next one when we pick up. I haven't yet gone through the process. I'm still running OVS, so partially due to that lack of clarity on it and my lack of familiarity with it. Might not be a bad idea to get, if we can get somebody from the Neutron team to join us on one of these calls and see if there's any work in progress, or plans around clarifying that process. Or if Ildiko, you want us, if you have contacts on the team that you think might be the people to do that, be able to comment on that, and we can throw some notes in here for next time. The Swift compliance process one, I guess we can move on to the next one if nobody else has any more to share on the OVN process. Who put the Swift compliance process in there? think that was a new one.
It might have been Chris.
Okay. I don't run Swift, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really able to comment on it.
I think it came up probably just since there are quite some regulations being rolled out, Cyber Resilience Act being one of the big ones. I think it just compliance came up probably as a general topic, since I know that Bloomberg has been going through quite a few compliance processes yourselves, and I think
Yeah.
Chris was trying to figure out if people are interested in getting some information about how those processes go.
Okay. Yeah, I just see something about. Yeah, I don't know. We can table that until he's back next month,
Mm.
I guess, since that's going to be of interest to him to hear about anyway. Let me see here. GPUs, that's kind of vague. But if anyone has any particular topics around that they'd like to discuss, feel free. For my part, I'm just getting started with it. I have boxes on the way with some GPUs in it. We're going to try and set up into a small AZ and start messing around with GPU pass through and stuff. They're just kind of lower end NVIDIAs, so I won't have the vGPU stuff to play with yet. I know CERN has done a lot of work around that. It was a pretty cool presentation at one of the Open Infra days about, maybe it was the summit, the last summit, I can't remember, but around the lab with a bunch of A100s and trying out vGPU versus not running without it. But does anybody have anything in particular that they're working on or trying to figure out with GPUs? Is anybody running GPUs at all?
Yeah, I think we are using GPUs for the. I work for a gaming company. For
Mhm.
most of the times, all the rendering, compilation, everything happens with the GPUs.
Cool.
And
Or
then
you got
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, please.
So we do the pass through uh, mode. So we don't have the VFIO license per se, but yeah,
Okay. Are you using them as part of your game, the gaming platform, or uh,
yeah,
to accelerate that stuff?
yeah, correct.
Very cool. Run into
But
any?
but we do. I think so. Unfortunately, we are still on train
Mhm.
release. So we do have some kind of a race condition, the open bug, which was fixed, I think in Antelope, if I recollect correctly.
Yeah.
So when we do a migration due to the race conditions, uh, I think it gets added with the wrong, I think wrong device naming, so it doesn't boot up or it goes in a black screen kind of. And
Mm.
most of the end users that they use GPUs on Windows machines, so Windows instances. So
Oh wow. Okay.
I
Are
think
you?
this is the bug I'm referring to. Let me post it.
Okay. Are you guys working on an upgrade path to get yourself off a train?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, of course. I think I explained in the past in one of the Ops Radio how we are tackling. We are planning to first upgrade the whole Ansible, there's a huge drift in the configurations, and then we are going by service by service. So that's the target.
Cool.
So Nova and Neutron would be the last, unfortunately, or because it's huge.
The hardest,
Yeah.
the most likely to break things. Let's see what's next on here.
Yeah, just to comment a bit on the GPUs.
Oh yeah, please. No, go ahead. Sorry, I'm moving too fast.
As you were mentioning from the CERN side, just to our interest these days, things we are looking at or we plan to do in the coming months is to look into reservations combined with GPUs, because even if we have a variety of GPUs, still as a scarce resource, so a lot of people interested on it, maybe to use it for a while and then give it back, these sort of things. So we are looking to Blazor, and we will start doing some prototypes around that. I'm not an expert on that area because I'm not the one that is working with that, but I think we have some requirements as well to upgrade Nova. At the moment, we are on Yoga, and we plan to jump, if we are lucky, to Caracal. That brings some features that are required for that. And this as well connected with what is in the Ether path of live migrations. That is something we would like to do as well, but I think the first release that supports that is supposed to be Caracal. So we are looking forward to the upgrade, start to test these live migrations, and give some input from the operator point of view.
Cool. Is that stuff already in Caracal? Sorry.
I think so. According to the release notes, I was actually I'm supposed to doing this upgrade, and I was checking the release notes these days, and yeah, it's supposed to be there, live migration for BGPUs.
Very cool. It'll be good to hear your guys' feedback on that stuff.
Yeah.
Are you using those things mostly in production now, or are you still kind of in lab? Yeah.
No, GPUs is fully production. As you mentioned, that we presented in the past, we have a variety of PCI pass-through, some BGPUs, some MIC devices. In our current version with Yoga, we have a lot of patches on top and scripts and services to make sure that all the devices are properly refreshed when machines are deleted, placement is properly updated with the inventory of all the PCI devices, etc. So some of these bits are a bit hacky. So we have to see if we're moving to new releases, we reduce the number of patches on our side.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else have anything
I have
GPU related? Yeah.
I have a question because you guys deal with massive GPUs in CERN, right? So we do have in our environment, we do also provide a VDI environment for the virtual desktop, right? And then there are Windows machine instances that uses GPU. So until today, we don't have a mechanism to monitor the physical durability of the GPU. So most of the time, it's the users who say that the VDI is not working, and then we figure out that GPU is failed. So how do you guys have any tips on how do we deal with the monitoring on that?
Actually, this is something we look at, and I think we are in the same page as you. It's like in some cases with standard pass-through devices, monitoring of the GPUs is super tricky from the point of view of the hypervisor. I think, as I said, I'm not an expert on this area. If you're interested, I can get you in touch with the guy in the team that is working on that. But I think with MIC devices, there are a few things. In our particular case, we're using NVIDIA, that NVIDIA offers that you could do some monitoring. I don't know at the level of monitoring errors on the GPUs, but more extended monitoring than just with the PCI pass-through, that basically you cannot do anything, as far as I understand. Because, for instance, one of the things we are interested in, as I said, we have some GPUs, but still not a lot. So when we hand it over to users, we want to make sure that they make a good use of it and things are not idle there. That's why at the same time, things like reservations are useful, but as well, we would like to have some proper monitoring and maybe identify idle resources and these other things.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Any other GPU related topics anyone would like to bring up? Okay. Looks like the next one was VMware migrations. Dum dum dum. Does anyone have any particular things they would like to bring up in about VMware migrations? I know at least one person on here is working on one. Um, but I guess just for anyone that's not involved in it, there's a lot of movement towards migrating off of VMware since Broadcom bought them and nuked the whole licensing structure. There was recently, I guess back in June, late June or July, that there was the VMware migration working group put out a white paper with lots of good information on doing that migration and the tools that are available and kind of the one-to-one, as much as it's possible, mapping of features. What you would use in OpenStack to accomplish a certain thing that you did in VMware. Various tools that are available for converting things. Should probably find a link to that, stick it in here too, just for posterity. Does anybody have any ongoing projects in that that they'd like to discuss or bring up questions about?
From my end, we're just beginning the journey. We're just looking at what we need to do the conversions and trying out different tools, as Eric's aware. So I'm interested in anything anybody has here that could help us in the process, and then hopefully a little while down the road, I could provide a lot of help to anybody else.
Yeah, in our company, we are currently doing a huge migration from VMware to the two major challenges that we had was, I'm not directly involved, but just all the discussions that we had in the past. So one is the retaining the same IP address. Unfortunately, both the environments that we have, OpenStack and the VMware, had a different VLAN and configurations and everything. So retaining the same IP address was a big challenge. We couldn't really support that. And then the second challenge was the Cinder's performance, or the storage performance. What they had in VMware was way better because it didn't have the QoS at all. But on our Cinder side, we do have QoS set. So, these are all kind of aesthetic issues because the expectations were way higher, different. And again, the same issue as pet versus cattle. Like on the VMware platform, users were thinking that as single pet, and then a live migration was very, I would say, probably flawless in VMware, and in OpenStack. Sometimes it can go wrong where it involves some kind of a downtime.
If you had to guesstimate how much of the live migrations are failures, is it 1%, 10%? What would you guess?
Yeah, very minuscule, not much. Only few cases where the live migration aborts when the ephemeral or the local disk is huge. We are still not providing the boot from volume options because of the choppy network. But yeah, when the flavor is huge, then live migration at times it becomes problematic, but not too much.
So you're doing local disk based
Yes.
ephemeral disks and no network storage for those. Okay.
No.
So
It's
you're at the
because
top.
they wanted a better IOPS, so we used the NVMe on the compute. So
And when you say huge, what sort of huge? Like around?
around like ephemeral close to there are some 1 TB ephemeral drives also we provide, 512 and all the big sizes.
Okay.
Is there anything that you were doing in VMware that you've had difficulty replicating in OpenStack? Any features of that you use that don't quite have a replacement?
I mean, we actually had this major issue of knowledge gap here. The VMware folks, they don't have to worry about the routers and all these floating IPs and whatnot. Right?
Yeah.
That was a big challenge for us to educate them to, and then they were not cloud ready. As I said, the pet versus cattle issue.
Yeah.
So that was one of the bigger challenges, and the guys who are driving this project from the product and the project management team, they were also not aware of. I mean, it's all the operational side of it, right? So
Right. So there's a lot of learning curve for the team to get used to how to manage things they didn't used to have to touch.
yeah.
Can I ask you, Venkat, a side question related to what you mentioned before, that you have a VDI platform? What are you basing what are you basing of your VDI platform in terms of in-house thing or some software?
Correct. Yeah, in-house. I think it is mostly used by the rendering side of it. Yeah. And that is one of the use case. And other use case is there's an interesting project called Juice Lab, where the gaming teams they spawn multiple GPU instances, and then use an interesting project called Juice Lab, if I recollect correctly, where it works like a GPU as a service, where the software aggregates the set of GPUs and does like a concurrent rendering and compilation and all. So I think it's a proprietary software, if I recollect correctly.
Okay, thanks. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Can you throw a link to what you're using into the Etherpad when you get a chance? Just be curious to take a look at that. I haven't.
The Juice Lab?
Yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
done
sure.
any VDI with in ages. So had certainly not an OpenStack. I know that people have been like cobbling together some things, and I've seen some summit talks and stuff on it, but I had never really processed it. So it'd be kind of cool to take a look at something that's working for you. And we could have a VDI topic sometime. But was there any other VMware things that people were wanting to discuss or ask about? I guess we've just got two of you doing VMware at this point, so I know there's some. I guess Matt's doing more vCloud stuff, so he's got a little more cloudy, approaching it from more of a cloud than a pet perspective to start, which is probably helpful to some extent, at least as far as user expectations are concerned.
Yeah, and our workloads that we're going to be converting are not permanent workloads. They pretty much get built as templates deployed for a user in a lab environment and then destroyed when they're done. So for us, the changing IPs and that on the outside of the lab won't be that big of an issue.
Very cool. And you can always create your, you can pre-create the network ports for anything as far as like internal IPs, instance IPs that you want to have, retain a certain IP address. And as long as you're running running OBS or OBN, isolated networks, tenant networks, you can have overlapping IPs. All of my tenants have the same IP block pretty much. But I've had some where we moved it from one cluster to another, and things were tied together with for like database clusters, things like that were set up with host files and other horrible things, where we needed to preserve it. So we just went in and created the neutron ports ahead of time with the IP address and everything that we needed for each VM. Which I suppose in bulk you could script something like that easily enough. But mostly I've just done it as a one-off sort of deal. So I have to create 3 or 4 ports, and then when spawning the instances, just assign that port to that VM, so you can maintain it going forward.
Eric, one question. So how do you extend so you guys will extend the VLAN across 2 different environments?
Well, in my case, I was mostly just concerned about the VMs talking to each other, so the networks weren't actually connected. But we do have some older legacy hosting clients, and they did come out of VMware, and they had some connectivity to some non-virtualized resources like an Oracle box and some other weird things that they've refused to get off of over the years. So we have a backend provider network that we can attach to each one of their VMs. So they do most of their work out of a OVS based interface that goes out, through a regular Neutron router, and they do all of their like internet goo that way. But like they actually access the VMs through VPNs and through a secondary interface, and they connect to their other physical resources through that secondary interface. So if your VMware environment is on just a regular L2 VLAN, you can set up a provider network in your Neutron and just map it into all of your compute hosts as an available network. It's just a bridge, I think. Got to go and create a bridge, and if you're using OVS, I'm not sure what the equivalent OVN one is, but I think I just had to run it's been a while since I set it up, but I went and run a quick OVS command on each one of the hypervisor nodes inside of the Open vSwitch container to add that network in. I think Kala might have added mechanism to create those things for you now. It's been a while, so all those things were already just kind of there. But it's a similar process. Like if you look for, you have to create a network like that for Octavia, for the load balancers for the M4i to be able to talk back to the OpenStack controllers and the APIs, since they're virtual machines running inside of OpenStack, but they need to be able to get out and talk to the controllers on whatever admin interface you've got going. So similar process, but that'll let you extend that physical VLAN from wherever, as long as you've got it available on your compute hosts. Just as you could do just do like a bonded interface, do a bridge on the host, tagged VLANs on the host, for whichever interface you've got available. And you can do multiples that way. That makes sense. I was kind of rambling a bit, but not awake.
Yep. Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Any other VMware things? Okay. I don't know what the VTPM is. What is that? And is anybody able to talk about it?
We didn't add the topic, but we are heavily interested in this. So basically, the VTPM is this device that systems like Windows Server recent versions and Windows desktops like Windows 11 is a mandatory device that you would need to do things like encryption at these other things. But it comes with the side effect that at the moment live migrations are not supported. So there is a lot of discussion in Nova about how to support live migrations for VTPM based machines. I can maybe link the last PTG. The spec that I think is
kind of like the BitLocker or something like that sort of stuff. Or
sorry, repeat it again.
is it like BitLocker? Is that one of the?
Yeah, exactly.
Like okay.
Yeah, BitLocker would rely on the TPM device, if I'm not mistaken, to do all the encryptions and everything. And
it also validates the boot process. So the bootloaders can look at the TPM to make sure that they trust the hardware underneath them and the hardware hasn't been hacked. So it also involves booting and that sort of thing as well. Even if you don't need BitLocker or anything like that, it will affect the ability of the machine to boot.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the main issue or some of the discussion is that at the moment the way it's implemented is that this VTPM is a secret that is stored in Barbican and is owned by the user that spawns the VM. So, for instance, live migrating, there is this philosophical thing that should the operator be able to live migrate if it doesn't own the secret, blah, blah, blah. So in the spec, there is some proposals to support live migrations, but this idea is the user that opts to allow the operators to do live migrations for them. It's an opt-in, it's an opt-out, how to design it. But at least from the CERN side, this is a must, because now that we have more and more, for instance, Windows 11 machines, we rely heavily on live migrating things around. And now with Windows 11, it's a pain because, either we incur in downtime with the users. If a few things are critical, we have to coordinate with them. This slows us down a lot in operations. Things like in the past with previous versions will be just, I live migrate, that's it. Now it's a bit of a annoying thing.
I would imagine that probably affects like snapshots and things like that too, right? If you do a snapshot and then rebuild the VM off of the snapshot that you took, I assume that all that's going to change too.
To be honest, good question. I don't have a lot of experience with, let's say, the life cycle with those operations, how this thing impacted, but it's a good point. But for instance, things like, for some reason, a hypervisor crashes and it comes back because we think it was fixed, repaired, whatever. The machine won't be able to start because the operation is, the secret is not there. So it's until the user does an operation or the operator, and things like that. So it's a bit, it has an impact on things like in the past will be just transparent or.
Okay. Well, an interesting topic to look into. I haven't run Windows instances for a while, so I haven't run into that. Is it just a Windows thing at this point, or is it starting to affect other like Linux distros and things too?
I don't know if, as far as I understand, see it for us that we offer Red Hat. This is not yet mandatory at any point in the OS. It is for Windows Server, I think, as well, is optional. For Windows 11, this is mandatory. So you must have this device.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've had my motherboard on my laptop replaced twice, and then had that whole thing come up when I'm trying to get back into it, where I have to go find some mysterious key in Microsoft site to get it unlocked again.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's my exposure to it. Cool. Any other comments on the VTPM? Okay. Moving on, we had that Keystone security parameter bug we talked about last time around. Anybody have any updates on that, or movement on the automatic disabling of inactive users?
Hey, sorry. I missed. It's related to the Keystone topic, right?
Yep. Yeah, we were just wondering if I just asked if there was anybody had any new information on that or updates.
No, I think the bug seems to be. I mean, there are some interest and tractions around it, but I don't. And I think the person who has assigned the bug also confirmed that it's reproducible, but I didn't see any progress further there.
Status is confirmed. Still unassigned. Trying to see if there's any follow-up comments on it. Doesn't look like it. Updated. David Wild changed it last time. Okay, so we need to keep following up on that. Did you try and pop in on the Keystone IRC or anything to prod them about it, or just kind of left it to bake for a bit?
No, but I didn't follow up on that further.
Okay.
Because anyways, we reverted the change that we rolled out. So, I mean, we are focusing on other things right now. So,
okay. They can come back around to that once they get to it. Okay, cool. We had the consolidating ops IRC and matrix channels. I keep forgetting to get back into matrix. Has anybody had any been using it at all, or been logged into the new matrix channel? And
I'm connected regularly. Not a lot of activity yet, but
yeah.
So far so good in terms of usability.
Cool.
Same here.
Did we? I know we were talking about checking to see. I think you were going to look and see if the IRC gateway was configured in there that would bring in stuff from the old OpenStack operators IRC channel.
You mean to try to connect the IRC channel to the new ops matrix room, or
yeah. I don't know. Somebody seemed to think that was a thing that could be done, but I don't know if we should.
So you can usually access IRC channels from a matrix app or client.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if we can connect those two channels or bridge those two channels this way. Maybe we still can. I don't know, Jeremy, if you know. You're probably the most experienced with matrix and IRC.
Yeah, no, there's not a bridge that we run to do any of that. There is a bridge run by the OFTC IRC network folks that bridges all of the OFTC channels to similarly named rooms in Matrix, but that's That's basically so that people can use the Matrix client to access IRC channels as if they were Matrix rooms. It doesn't really connect one to another. But what we can do, which we've done in the past for when people are moving from one IRC channel to another, or in the case of the Zool community who moved from using an IRC channel to using a Matrix room, you can basically put information on where the discussions are taking place now in the topic for the IRC channel. Could potentially have a custom entry message for the old IRC channel to encourage people to, find wherever your Matrix documentation about accessing the new Matrix room is, or a URL to it or to the room or whatever, that sort of thing. So.
Matrix channel.
I don't know how active the IRC channel is.
Not very at all.
It's very active, but I saw quite a few people in the Matrix room, in the new Matrix room. So I was wondering if, for example, things like the new CERN blog post came up. Could one of y'all throw that in the Matrix room, for example?
That's a good point. Yeah, we can start to announce these sort of things in the channels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just throw in topics there or any updates like these that would be useful to others, and I think that could be good conversation starter as well, or at least people can still look at it, and then hopefully over time, if everyone throws little things in there like that, then hopefully some conversations will spark as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thank you.
Guess that works. Okay, cool. I will try and get myself in there, and one of those things I keep forgetting to do. Okay, we had one ad here. Venkat, Cinder volume types and having different librd and krbd simultaneously.
Yeah, I mean, I can explain what exactly I'm looking at. So we want to provide multiple volume types based on the storage class, right? But there are some users who really want the raw performance, so we want to provide the Ceph storage to the Nova instances using the KRBD, which is the kernel space module, right? And then if they're okay for the overhead, then probably we want to use the librd user space module. Unfortunately, until now, I don't see any way that we can provide them simultaneously or having it defined inside the Cinder.conf saying this particular volume type comes with user space and other volume types has the kernel space. So still we have to patch the code based on the volume type incoming request, then to map it on the runtime on the compute, but it's not very ideal.
No. I mean, you could do multiple backends in Cinder, but I don't know. Specifying which RBD method it uses, I don't think is part of that, right? It just defaults to whatever's on the machine.
Yeah.
Just probably defaults to librd. How do you get it to use krbd? I mean, can you set up Cinder to do just krbd somehow?
Yeah, it's just the module.
Just no matter what's on the hypervisor?
Yes, it's only on the hypervisor. You just have to load the module and map it. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know how you get around that. Interesting. Put that down as a note to research on. Okay. The only way I can think to do it presently is not, you can't really do it on the same host, but you'd have to have like a host aggregate that had KRBD instead of librBD, and then deploy to those hosts, which obviously reduces your flexibility a bit, but that's one way to kind of get around it, I guess. In the meantime, if you need it to be user selectable, to where you don't have to go and manually start mapping things onto the compute host itself. So it's preferable to that, I guess.
Yeah, but the problem with that is we want to provide the bootable volume from a different volume type, right?
Right.
And then the persistent storage should be from the high performance volume type.
Right.
That's the use case that we are trying to achieve here.
Oh, so having the boot volume be a KRBD, but then having the like the Cinder volumes be like any other attached volumes be the other one?
The other way.
Other way around. Okay.
Yeah, other way around. Yeah.
So boot
volume
from
on librBD. Yeah. And the
well,
persist.
I wonder what the because if you can do if you don't boot into a volume, instead having Nova manage the ephemeral disks.
Yeah.
For the boot volumes, instead of booting into a volume, you just let Nova do that. There might be a way to manipulate the URL that it uses to spawn. I'm not quite sure. But if Nova's doing it one way and Cinder's doing it the other, that might be possible. Maybe through some metadata that you put onto the flavor or onto the image in Glance. There's probably some metadata tag in there that would say how that should connect. Be worth looking into anyway. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but that would eliminate having to have Cinder with two different configs.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be some sort of change to Cinder where they'd have to put in another configuration variable to say, to use one way or the other, which should be doable. Probably not an overly complicated change, I imagine. But that's an interesting thought. Yeah. Okay. Got about 7 minutes left.
I think I had added another topic about the FS trim.
Oh yeah, it was underneath the Cinder one.
Yeah. So the idea that I'm looking at is, for now, I think looking at the Ceph's documentation or the blog, Glance and Nova supports the FS trim automatically, right? So when the space data is removed, it automatically notifies the backend Ceph to claim it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the patch that was pushed to Cinder is in abandoned state, so it's kind of a bummer for us because Cinder is one of the top consumer for our storage.
I didn't think that was specifically a Nova setting so much as it was
Correct.
I thought
For Nova and
it was something that got
yeah,
applied to the controller of the VM so that the virtual disk controller sends out those trim messages and then Ceph receives them. So if it was attached to a VM that was spawned with those options,
okay,
that
yeah, makes
Cinder
sense.
should respect that as well, regardless, because it's still connected to the same controller. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
It should work. If it's not working, that's a problem, I would guess. But it's worth it'd be worth testing out to see. Have you tried it and noticed it not cleaning up?
No, this is only today I started looking at it when I was optimizing the space in Ceph. But yeah, this came up and I thought I will add and get some idea on this ops radio.
Yeah, sure.
So I posted in the chat, there is this HW discard option, which is a libvirt option. In Ansible, it's set to unmap by default, I think.
Yeah.
But
there are some blogs which also says discard option is kind of performance degrading factor. But yeah, it's something we have to see. Is there a drop in IOPS when it is kind of discarding? I've not looked at the mechanism, how often it runs the discard.
Yeah, I have some vague memory of something like that too, and I think maybe it was specific to using the VirtIO SCSI versus the
Yes, right.
Right.
I mean, that is one of the major factors moving from the VirtIO block to the SCSI.
Yeah. I feel like that issue was just with one of those types and not the other, but I can't quite remember. Yeah, it'd be interesting if we could revisit on the next run and see what you come up with. I can certainly take a look at that too, because it's been a while since I've looked at. Yeah, I said it and forget it, and I don't worry about it anymore. Thanks. So.
Yeah.
Because we have experience with trimming, mainly more with local disk, not much with Ceph. I don't know if this changed a lot with the block devices, but I think this is something that is not triggered automatically. It's something that must be triggered on demand from the guest. So, for instance, on Linux, if I'm not mistaken, fstream comes with a timer in things like Red Hat, and this is at the user level that you configure the fstream timer to trigger at some point. And if you trigger it and it's not supported, it will bug you and complain. So, and with Windows, it's something like optimize volume, something like that.
Mm-hmm. But how do you enforce, like because it's guest VM, right? Inside the instance, what is happening, we cannot control. Somebody could just disable the cron job, so it doesn't run at all.
Yeah, so it is like that. You cannot enforce it. Unless, I don't know, you could do things like having the agent on anything, but anything that is depending on the user level or the inside the VM, users could disable it. But I think as far as I see it, it depends on the user, and all the options could be disabled by them.
Yeah, but I did check on the Ceph layer where we could shut down the instance and map the volume, RBD volume on the Ceph layer, and then mount it on a file system and do the fstream. But it involves some kind of a coordination. That's something I don't know how much of it is feasible. Right, so.
Okay, we need to follow up on that one next time. I think we are pretty much out of our time. September 26th was the written suggestion, which would be the fourth Friday in September at the same time. Does anybody have any objections or reasons why that doesn't work? All right, I'll take that as assent. I guess that's pretty much it for this time around. Thanks everybody for showing up and having an active discussion. Hopefully we'll get up to 13 today, so that was pretty good. See if once everybody's back from their beach vacations and running away from hurricanes, they can they can get in here in September, and we'll have. Okay. That's it. Everybody have a great rest of your week, and we'll keep in touch on Matrix.
Thank you all.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.